Now, this is something I've been complaining about longer than the period of time involving me pulling my head out of my ass, the wilderness years, respectively, um, as I often whine about them. Bear with me, I'm a little out of sorts. Woke up, juggling some crap, and I clicked record. Of course, why not? Fuck it. As this reads, and this is what people are, pushing on the internet these days. As the year ends, thanks to everyone who hugged me, loved me, kept my secret, spoke kindly, smiled, helped, smiled, helped? Okay, I guess there should be another comma in there. Or simply talked to me. I also just left some comments on here, and one of the words, at least, that I remember on here capitalized because I was talking at my phone, so judge my grammar and my editing skills and all that accordingly. So this is the type of crap that you'll see online. And it's pretty, positive vibes only, happy, blah, 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 blah. It makes you feel good, so you want to shop it around. However, it's posted 7 hours ago. Today is allegedly December 26th. What they're referring to, if it will work, it won't work. Either way. What you would probably assume, now it works. If you click on it, it brings something up and then highlights it. That's efficient. That's roughly when people would assume the year would end. It makes no fucking sense. None whatsoever. So here's what I left on here. It would work. It said if people knew what they were talking about, they would understand the new year doesn't begin until March 21st. And then I threw in this other jazz because look at all the little heart sigils. Look at them. For fuck's sake. It is about as good as people saying amen, by the way. But you see what I see, right? And if somebody else left words on here, it's probably at the bottom of this stack. If somebody typed something up, there's one. Maybe it's a coincidence, you never know. I didn't look at the time frames. There's another one. And maybe that's just where they shook out. You never know. Usually when I leave stuff on here, it will fall to the bottom of the stack, typically speaking, eventually, if not immediately. In this case, what I left on here is still up here because I haven't refreshed it. That's what I think, but maybe I'm wrong. The other thing I said is emojis are written into the algorithm to dumb people down. Most of you will probably react poorly to what I said. However, I'm trying to help you, and what I left on here is absolutely true. Unlike what most people believe and shop around. See how it capitalized shop? Motherfucker. Now, you can assume what you will, but if you think about what I said, that's the whole point. You got to reason out what I said. You got to think about it, not to believe it, but to try to figure out how you could use what I said as a tool to discern whether or not these things are in fact fucking true. If you look up at night, you're going to see the guided stars above. A lot of people will call that the zodiac or the Mazzaroth or the fixed stars. What they are the guided stars, the 12 fucking houses, not 13, mind you. What you're going to see, if you simplify it, oh man, I'm out of it today. You're going to see Pisces, and Aries. And they're going to be really, really close to each other. Because it's the head and the feet. You with me? You got the ram and the fishes. And they're very close to each other. And they represent the head of you and I and our feet. That's because they have to do with Jacob the heel catcher. Jacob in the Bible was renamed Israel. It's also another name for it. So when you look up at night, that's Israel. Not the shit that you hear about down here on this rock. That's an earthly abomination, a golden calf. If you're very slow, I'm not a Bible thumper. All religion is social control. There's a disclaimer statement for you if you haven't figured that out. There are answers in there, such as what I'm rattling off. You can use those things as a tool too, but you got to skim off the fucking fat. Because most people out there don't have a clue what's going on. Most people out there can read things like that and never take anything worthwhile from it. Case in point, if all those kids out there who have read the Bible understood this shit, you would not hear a single one of them talk about New Year's at the end of December. Not one. There are a lot of people out there, would you agree, that do thump the fucking Bible? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, supposedly, 50% of religion, roughly enough, and that's overestimating, is Christianity. The other half is Islam. Those are the two biggest religions, roughly enough, on this rock. But most people still celebrate. I mean, that's not a great example, but most people do celebrate the New Year at the end of fucking December because they fell into lockstep, and that's when people celebrate the end of the year, because that's what they were spoon-fed. That's what they were told, sold, and urged to repeat, and they do. That's the bigger point to this message. Now, here's the other thing I'll throw you guys. And like I said, this is old hat to me. Very, very old hat. It's something that I reasoned out before I did any of the other cool stuff. The stuff that required a lot more effort. This is superficial shit that you could have figured out, and most people should have fucking figured out. So, what does Aries and Pisces represent? Not just the head and the feet, I mean. What do they represent? What other correspondences can you think of, or attributes, if you will? And all we're using are those two because they represent an extreme in terms of the guided stars above. A spectrum, if you will, of the 12 houses. In other words, you and I have a head and we have our feet. That's the spectrum of you and I. That's the extreme, so to speak. And that's a bad way to put it. But I'm being lazy with it. In other words, if you think of December, what's the house having to do with December? Capricorn and Sagittarius, or Sagittarius and Capricorn in that order, rather. One's the archer, the centaur in many ways, having to do with Sagittarius. And the other one's what? Capricorn, which used to just be a goat, but now it's apparently a sea goat, because things are weird. You guys can take the time and energy if you want to look those up, and which body parts and everything else those correspond to. But dancing back to Pisces and Aries, Pisces have to do with the feet, and it has to do with being cold, because it's the end of the fucking year. Aries has to do with being warm, because it's the beginning of the fucking year. Have you ever heard the expression? There's two of them, mind you, and it's because our masters are flat out laughing at us, and most people are very, very dumb. Very, very gullible. Typically speaking, good people, but dimmer than the backwoods of Georgia. Have you ever heard of the expression to have cold feet and to be hot-headed? Two different expressions, but they both represent what I'm talking about. What the fuck do I know? If you hung out, thanks for hanging out. I am trying to help you. And this is something superficial that you should know, that I did likely just teach you if you've never hung out here before. Most people do not have the faintest fucking clue about, which means by extension they are misleading each other. They're fucking up things. They're gumming up the works for you and I, which means the other shit that's going to come out of their mouths that they don't think about using the brain between their ears is going to fuck you and I up, because they are quite literally willing to repeat anything and everything that they are spoon-fed. This is why you and I have a feed on the DARPA internet, where you get superficial trash. And people click repost without thinking about it, which means they circulate the propaganda. The time frames in terms of this, you could construe, or you could think of as, I misspoke, you could think of this as propaganda. Most likely, and I've never clicked on this account, they have verified themselves, which means they've also bought into something having to do with paving the way for social credit slavery. Something else equally superficial people don't understand, which is another reason why I often overuse the expression, people can't see the forest for the fucking trees. Now I'm going to click on this, and I bet you they have thousands of people following them, because they're circulating shit. But maybe I'm wrong. 5 fucking million. 5 fucking million people. That should bother you. But what the fuck do I know?